Alrighty, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. For the last 20 years, myself and entrepreneurs from all over the country have been coming together to help share ideas, concepts, everything you need to know to take your small business from the level you are now where you want productivity. All we think about and all we need to think about to make sure we have all the tools, all the techniques, all the strategies we need to take it to the next level. I'm a big believer in small business. I'm an advocate 100% for SWAM America. I want to make sure that every small business, small women owned minority business has the opportunities they need to have, the connections they need to have. And this is about that effort. When I bring specialists to you, they are always high powered, super intelligent and wonderfully connected individuals, people who care about the small business community, and they're doing their thing right now, trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to do great things. Today's panel, today's guest stars, man, they are amazing, amazing individuals. I have to say, as much as I've been doing the show, I've never had three gentlemen on the show all at the same time. It's always been, one guy, maybe two guys, and a couple of ladies, But now I got three high powered gentlemen. We're gonna have the testosterone overrun right now today. We're gonna go there and really have a great time. I've got Roger Owens. He's my Canadian sales guru. He knows everything there is to know about selling anything. He can sell you dust in the desert if you want, that kind of thing. He's a really good brother. And Kevin Williams is an amazing CEO of tech. I mean, he's known around the Washington metropolitan area and DMV as just a SWAN business champion. He runs his own technology company, and he is just an amazing, brilliant person. You're gonna love his comments and thoughts. And then finally, my brother, my frat brother, Kevin Davis, is a super genius, a marketing CMO born. He was just it's in his heart, it's in his mind, it's how he is. And he knows how to put together brand, image, anything you can think about when it comes to getting your ideas out there in a way that you're going to be happy and satisfied in terms of how it looks, how it feels, how people express it. It's just amazing. He's so super talented. I've seen him grow as a professional and do so many amazing things. He's one of these people that says, this where there's a will, there's a way, and he can do anything, and he actually does it. He's a hard worker. So it's so good to have all of them in the show today. You guys are going to be blessed with so much energy and so much um, just super intelligent people. And I'm going to make sure that you get a chance to meet and talk to them and share. They're going to share some ideas with you about the topic today. Today's topic, super special. This is the third part of the 9 steps to masterful professional relationships. So critically important. First week, we talked about what it takes to make sure that you're listening to the market, listening to people around you, learning how to listen is the key to success. It's 80% of what you need to do as a leader, 80% of what you need to do as a producer. Anything you're doing, anything you're growing, you have to listen. My grandmother used to say it best, you got 2 ears and one mouth, use them in proportion, right? So it's very, very important that if you don't master this, you think, I got to tell people about me. No, you don't. You have to allow people to tell them about themselves, tell you about themselves, so that you can listen and hear what their love language is. You can listen and hear what their needs are. You can listen and understand who they are. That was week number one. Week number two, we talked about prospect. We talked about the issue of making sure that you have promise and that you understand what promise is. How do you manage talent? How do you identify talent? How do you expose your talent in the right way to the right people so that when you make these connections, when you make relationships, or when you begin relationships, you begin relationships with a promise trajectory. People know what to expect from you. You know what to expect from the relationship, and you can keep that relationship on track if you do the right things along the way. So promises was week number two. Week number three, this is it. We're talking about follow up and follow through. And we're going to show everything you need to know, the differences between the two, because some people think they're the same, they're one and the same, they are not. So we're going to give you everything you need to know about follow up and follow through, and then we're going to have our guest panelists jump on and share some of their ideas about follow up and follow through. You're going to hear some of their stories and some of the things they've had issues with, and some of the things they've grown from. And hopefully, we'll all be blessed with new information and new passion along the way. This is Coffee Tea with me, and after this commercial break, We're going to get this party started. Hello, everyone. This is Coach Powell. I'm Coach Powell, the CEO, the founder of Coach Powell Training Development. My responsibility to the world, my passion is about helping individuals, about helping businesses understand the keys and the art of developing superior performance, excellent focus, and the greatest amount of energy they ever can get. That's what I'm all about. That's what I do well. I claim that I'm better at it than most. And if you want to try to prove me wrong, let's go. I'll take that. I'll take that challenge. We're ready. We're ready to do that. Today, I have some special guests that are going to just blow you away. I have Ron Owens, I have Kevin Davis, and I have Kevin Williams. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves to everyone so that they can hear and see um, exactly who you are and what they are. And as you're doing so, I want to make sure that everyone who's participating on the show tonight, that they do everything you can to um, subscribe. If you can, go ahead and make sure that if you're on Facebook and you like us, you share us, don't keep us a secret. We've been doing this for a while, but we want to make sure we keep the audience growing and keep the audience growing. We got a lot of audience members out there right now. If you're in the audience, do me a favor, go in the chat section. If you're on Facebook or on YouTube, go ahead and put your name in the chat. Go ahead and put the city you're coming from in the chat. Anything you want to know, or anything you want us to know about you in the chat, including links to your business, links to your ideas, share, and things like that. And I'm going to start you off with a question, and I'm going to let you handle that question, and then I'm going to come back to see what you guys had to say about it. So make sure you pay attention to what we're doing. We get lots of engagement going on here. We want to make sure that everybody plays, right? So first things first, I'm going to give you guys a copy of the training manual for today. And the training manual is the 9 steps to master. Um, you should be able to pull it out from wherever you're looking. So if you're looking on Facebook, you should be able to see that in the chat. If you are looking on YouTube, you should be able to see it in the chat. And if for some reason it looks like Facebook is giving me drama, but it seems to be posted. No, it did come. It came through on Facebook and on YouTube. Okay, great. Um, and then after that, I want to post a couple things here for you guys. Let me make sure I go back to private. There we go. These are some of the questions. That's not going to work out too well. All right, so I need to get that from someplace else. I'll get that for you later. I got a whole slew of questions that are going to be useful information for you guys, and I'm hoping that it's going to help you sort of participate and engage with today's discussion. And I think I just pulled it up. All right, let's see. That might be too much to come through on the private chat. But yes, there we go. This is the question. If you're looking at some of the exercises that you'll find even in the manual that I shared with you, we're talking about follow up and follow up. How important is it to you? How important is it to you that you have an excellent strategy for following up and following through? Here's why I wrote this in the first place. I know that most people, when they enter professional relationships, whether they come through the job situation or they meet somebody in a networking function or they happen to be at a, a social gathering or whatever, and they meet somebody who they're interested in, it's what do you do now after you can get interested. You can have that conversation where you're sharing information one to another. You know how you get there, and you find ways, things that you have in common. You find ways to talk to each other, and it's all brilliant, it's all fun, everything's working out well. But what next? How do you move the relationship forward? Now, I compare professional relationships a lot to dating. And when you think about it, When you're dating someone, there might be a little flirting going on when you first meet them or first see them or first notice them, and you smile, they smile, you wink, you nod. You got body language and that says, I'm attracted to you, right? And then once you engage, what do you have to do in order to take the relationship to the next level? You have to find a way to communicate with them. You have to share your numbers, and you have to actually follow up with a phone call. And some people have that. Well, I gotta wait 3 days after I meet you, and some people, have all kinds of different strategies of what they need to do. But in the professional world, you don't have time for the game plan. This game plan, you know, you really do have to get right to the business of building the relationship that you want to see happen. And we're going to talk about that for the rest of the day. But in the meantime, while you guys are looking, while the professionals that I brought to the table today are introducing themselves, what I want you to do is I want you to check out that chat and answer that question. And so I need to see, I should see the page blowing up with people who are answering. And the great answer is like, I like number 7. 7 works best for me. Here's why. Or I like number 8. Number 8 works best for me, and here's why. And while you're doing that, I'm going to have the gentlemen who are backstage introduce themselves. I'm going to start with, is anybody ready to go back there? Who's ready to go right now? You raise your hand so I can see you. All right. We're going to go with Brother Davis right up front. This is Kevin Davis.
Hey, hey.
Super genius. Kevin, why don't you tell everybody about yourself? You got 2 minutes, so take your time.
Yep. My name is Kevin Davis, originally from Detroit. I've been in Chicago about 12 years. And I've been in the kind of marketing communication space going on, I would say maybe about 15 years or so. I started out as a graphic designer and, just kind of fell in love with marketing and figured out how I can make organizations be better or make better use of their assets, their brand, their culture, whatever. And so that's just become my passion. That's what I do all day, every day. That's what I do for fun. I've spent a number of years working in higher education at a few universities, helping rebrand, develop brand strategies for them. Educational nonprofits doing the same thing. And right now I lead lead marketing communications, as well as community engagement for a nonprofit healthcare organization here in Chicago, which has about 87,000 patients, 1,000 employees. So it's kind of a big deal and a small deal at the same time. You're looking at the hospital space. And in addition to that, I'm also lead the marketing communications for my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So this is who I am. If you ask anyone about Kevin, they'll tell you he's about marketing, he's about branding, he's about relationships. But then more importantly, he's about trying to help other people and share different resources. And kind of how I got brought in on this topic here is I've taken some of the skills and experiences that I've learned as a marketer and redirected them into professional relationships. And if you know anything about marketing, working with a great brand, they do one thing well. They follow up with you, they keep you engaged, and they keep you wanting more. They make you feel like you're important. And so how do we bring that back into our personal lives, into our own relationships with others? And so I'm happy to be here today to kind of talk about this and share some of my experiences and my tips. But more importantly, giving out some information that I had to learn the hard way in my career. No one really took the time to share these things with me. And so that's part of my professional mission is being who I needed when I was younger. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Coach.
Outstanding. The next fellow I'm going to bring to you guys, Mr. Kevin Williams, is just another CEO. I love everybody. Everybody's had everything great to say about this guy, and you're going to find out why just right now. Mr. Kevin Williams, why don't you tell us about yourself, Kevin? You got to take yourself off mute.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks, Coach, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share. My name is Kevin Williams. I'm the CEO of TechConnects. We design and build emerging innovative technology solutions, including smart cities, smart facilities, and smart campus spaces. I love marketing. I love people. And I have spent probably the last 30 years or so in the business space, running marketing divisions for major companies, family-owned businesses, and the like. And I just absolutely am passionate about improving people and processes. So one of the things I tell folks all the time about relationships, is the most important thing that people need to remember is people do business with folks that they know, that they like, and they trust. If they know that you are who you say you are, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and you're going to follow up, and you're going to make good on everything that you have to offer them in the way of product, in the way of services. That is absolutely the best thing that you can possibly do to grow yourself individually and to grow your organization. So, Coach, thank you so very much for the time today to share, and I look forward to sharing knowledge and information that hopefully will help someone else to improve and to grow. Thanks.
Outstanding. My girl Nancy is coming through. She's just a genius. Another young lady that I love working with, and she says of all the questions that are out there, she really likes number 2 because it requires thought, creativity, and can be customized to a wide variety of folks while you gracefully get back to them the main point and info you need to know. This is amazing. Thank you so very much, Nancy, for your feedback. It does make a difference when you are following up with people that you really, really don't just shoot from the hip, but put some energy into this thing. Shoot, put some effort into it because it matters. Every time you communicate with some other professional, your brand is starting to be developed with them. It's not just what you look like or what kind of images you use. It's actually how you communicate and how you effectively drive anything with the relationship forward. If you look at the 9 steps, you'll notice that the first 3 steps are really all intrapersonal communication strategies. It's learning how to work with people directly, individuals directly. You can't do these things in a group setting. You can't, when you're following up, we're talking about following up with a person. We're not talking about following up with a corporation or an organization or, that's going to come later. But building those personal relationships are where follow up is key. I see a lot of folks out there already. That's pretty good. The audience is growing. It's pretty nice. Like I said before, if you haven't already, make sure you put your name and where you're coming from, how you got to this space. If somebody refers you in, we'd like to know that. I'm going to give them a shout out as well. And so definitely put that stuff in the chat so we can keep this party going. Okay, so I have a question for my guest panelists back there. And the biggest question is, we know that follow-up is the thing that initiates a relationship. So if you make a promise to someone saying, listen, I'm going to get you this article, or I'm going to get you copies of this book, or I'm going to get back to you with an idea about this concept. That's that initial thing that you have to do to make the relationship work, right? So if you back in the dating scenario, you go, listen, I literally love talking to you. I want to talk to you some more. I want to see you some more. Can I call you? And you got to get permission, right? You got to get their permission to do that. And I'm sure that everybody has had some follow-up strategies that have worked and some follow-up strategies that have not worked. And if you guys got some information to share about that, I'd love to hear from you. Mr. Davis, have you had any follow-up strategies that really, really kind of worked exceptionally well for you?
Well, I'll start with what didn't work. And what didn't work for me was using my own brain, trying to remember everything and saying, well, I'll follow up with this person, I'll follow up with that person. And in your mind, you'll think, I'll remember this to follow up with Coach on Monday. And then it's Tuesday. So a whole week goes by, everything goes up. You have all sorts of different priorities. And so what and sometimes you got to get over your ego and realize that you can't remember everything. But using your phone, either you have Google or you have an Apple phone or something, saying, hey, Siri, set a reminder to call Coach at 5 p.m. on Monday, or to email him about this, or just set a reminder to follow up. Use as much technology as you have as possible. But as I'm sitting here looking at my desk, I also have a bunch of Post-it notes on my desk. Sometimes you just want to be able to physically check something off. But use as many resources as you have, but they are only going to be as effective as you are using them. I'll set up those reminders. I'll just rapid fire them. If I'm thinking about something, I might be in a car. That's usually when I have the thoughts, but that's not the best time to jot a thought down. You just talk to your phone. Hey, set a reminder to call this person, set a reminder to follow up on this. And then you add it to your calendar. So now you can manage your day. And also designating which days during the week are your follow-up days. I know it can sound a bit technical, but that's what you learn from successful people is about routine. They may set in the morning is when they respond to people, or in the afternoon is what when they respond to people. But you have to have some sort of system. Otherwise, you're always, you're chasing your tail, and life happens and things change. So that's what I've gotten good with. What's also helped me is just doing it in the moment instead of delaying it. So if I need, it takes me less time to send this email out and follow up, or to tell somebody what I told you I'm going to have on Friday is not going to happen. I can tell you that on Tuesday instead of telling you Friday it's not going to happen. You already know that. So just take that time and do it right there in the moment.
Mr. Williams, I know you got some good stuff for us.
Oh man, Kevin, you hitting the nail on the head. I tell you, one of the things that have worked really, really well for me, especially since the advent of technology has changed the way we communicate using email and text and the like. But you really need to know how your people like to be communicated with. Some people hate text messages. Some people love them. Yep. Some people hate emails. They get, like me, 600-700 emails a day. They hate them. You have to know how they like to be communicated with. If they like text messages, send them text. If they like, and if you don't know, ask. I always ask my people, how would you like me to best communicate with you? And they will tell you, and believe me, sometimes if you send folks a text, what do you send me text messages for? I only respond to email. So you get the message one way or another, but it's always best to ask. The other thing for me for a follow-up is, believe it or not, is handwritten cards. I send handwritten notes to customers. I pay my invoices with handwritten thank you notes with smiley faces. And people, I'm telling you, they always say, you know what, you really lifted my spirits today when I got that card from you that said, thank you for that meeting, or thank you for lunch, or thank you for helping me out with this project or whatever. So send those things, because folks, a lot of people are not sending those things, and we've gotten so far away from the old school way of doing things with all this technology going on. Yeah. We need to bring things back to easy things and simple things and things that just make people smile. And those are the things that make people remember you.
Can I follow up on that? Two things Kevin said that resonate me. One is learning the way that people want to be communicated. And with that, not just the method or the mechanism, but the detail. You learn over time how people want the update or whatever is going to be sent out. Some people really appreciate brevity, where it's just shoot straight and let me know. And I was thinking about this, I was mentioning to you about the press conference that I had to set up this morning, and I put together, I knew who I was communicating with, and so I put together this very detailed 3-page document so everyone would know what to do, where to go, with the schematic of the location. But then with my team, I'm just like, I just need you over here at this time to do this and this. So you got to know, your audience and what level of detail to provide to them, not just, through the channel. Tell me quickly. You can call me real quick. I'm kind of old school with that. I'm in that the last of the Gen Zs. I'm like, just call me. If it's going to take 5 seconds, just call me and I'll know, versus the email chain that takes 3 days now. Call me and just give me the details. Okay, I'm good. Or shoot me the text and we're good. But, you got to learn who you're talking to and what works best to them.
It's important.
Go ahead.
That is so true. And one of the things that you both brought out is the personal nature of communication. And it is so critical, specifically with people that you need to impress. Mm-hmm. You need to build a relationship. You cannot afford to drop the ball on the initial communication with them. And so if you've made a promise, and I hope you'd have, if you've made a promise to do something, you've already gotten permission to engage, but you also have to ask, how would you like to engage further? And you need to honor that commitment, because
Yeah.
what it says to the person that you're communicating with is that you are important, you are vital, I am interested and actively ready to receive whatever this relationship might grow into or might become. But if you say, if you indicate that it's my way or the highway, I'm only going to communicate with you via email. I don't care what you say. I'm only going to communicate. Like I tell people all the time, please don't send me handwritten notes. I know you think it's a special. I know you think it's important. But if you do it for everybody and you do it for me, that's not special for me anymore. And by the way, you're killing a tree for no reason. I gotta throw away a piece of paper now. I gotta go out to my mailbox and sort it all through and get a note from you that really isn't a note to me specifically, as much as it is a note that you send to everybody, the same note. Then that might not be the case, but that's exactly how I process the information. People throw me a note and a business card in the note. I get so many of those. I'm like, okay, this just is just another, feel good marketing strategy that doesn't work. Now, you send me some brownies, or you send me something that's tangible. That I got something 3D, something with three. I'm good. I'm good.
We call those professional love languages.
That's right. That's a gift to me.
Yeah.
But a note and with your business card in it, that's not a gift to me. And so, I'd rather you save that 50 cents of postage and all whatever it costs for the card or the stamps and all that kind of stuff, and do something special, do something for somebody who needs some money with that. Don't waste any effort in that for me. But an email, a quick email, a short email will work amazing too. So I'm like, oh my God, you sent me an email. To me, that's special. But that's me and my generation, which brings me to the next point. We're dealing with a marketplace right now that has 4 active generations working in it. And we all have different methods of communicating. I read a study the other day that I think it's not the Gen Zers. Yes, it's the Gen Zers. They watch 65 videos a day.
Mm-hmm.
So cook that in your noodle for a second. You're trying to communicate with a young professional who's super talented, and you're trying to send them an email, and they check their emails once a week because they communicate on TikTok and Snapchat, and and they shoot videos to each other all day, every day. So, and if you try to take their phone away from them, they can no longer communicate. And I'm not trying to stereotype anybody, because I understand that everybody has different modes of communication and different ways to think about it. But if you think about that, and then you also pair that with, you have your what is that, the baby boomers,
Yeah.
right, who hated email when it got introduced to the marketplace. They still hate it, and they'd rather still go to their mailbox and get a piece of mail out, and take their time to think about it and communicate. And it don't matter if the communications to them the channel takes 3-4 days. So one generation, the youngest generation, it has to be personal, it has to be quick. Older generation, it has to be impersonal and slow. That works for them because they have time to be themselves in between that communication. They have time to think about it, have time to respond to it. If they don't respond, in 2-3 days, it's okay.
Yeah, I think with more generations in the workplace at one time, that's fine. But I don't see it as much of a difference as still needing to know on a one-to-one basis. Because even in those same groups, you're going to have 3 or 4 different tactics that you need to figure out what works for them with it. But one thing that I I hope to see more of is really the understanding of this being a two-way street. And right now there's a lot of talk about catering to how these other generations communicate, and that's fine. It's fine to understand, what are their ways to communicate, what best works for them. But there also needs to be a level of education to them that the way your group operates is not the way the world works. So it's a two-way street, and there's room for all of it, but you got to know how to mirror and figure out what's appropriate and what works, because otherwise, you'll have when that workforce shifts, like I said, I'm at the tail end of Gen X. So when we shift over here, then this whole other group comes up, and that changes everything.
It's balance.
And there needs to be some sort of balance in there, but I don't hear a lot of that in our conversations. It's really around, you need to do this for this group, and those groups are kind of like, that's not how we want it. And it's like, we can't spend all of our time figuring out how to present everything for one group, but it really should just be about how do you interact and engage with people in general.
Certainly.
And being able to quickly figure out, talking to coach, he's this way. Talking to my son, this is way. Y'all might be the same, and y'all are many years apart. But I think that's the piece that's missing, is it's just mirroring and matching folks. And we do put a lot of emphasis on generational communication, and it is important. And there are different channels and methods that come up with, with the younger generations. Mm-hmm. But we don't spend as much time on just communication, like interpersonal communication and understanding communication styles and leadership styles.
Soft skills.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right about that, Kevin. I mean, the tendency for us to take the shortcut and to say you're all like this, right, is something that I can tell you us three specifically understand, automatically that's not necessarily the case, right?
As for me in my house.
Right, And so I think that a lot of times, but it still needs to be said.
Sure.
Every person is a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every individual is an individual, and that's one of the things that corporations tend to kind of gloss over and forget in their communication strategies, because they're looking for the simplest denominator. They're looking for that the line that works the best for the biggest segment of the marketplace.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be isolating others who don't fit within that framework.
Yeah.
And it's, like you said, it's a give and take. We have to figure out, because we do want to come up with data-driven scientific approaches to everything, but at the same time, humans don't always bend to that data. Mm-hmm. They don't always bend to the latest research or whatever the marketing studies suggest, because people are people, and their feelings and their emotions kind of drive a lot of how they do things. And there's two things I want to mention here: being emotionally intelligent, which is basically what Kevin just said. It's critically important. And understanding what we now know about the brain, which we never knew before, the neuroscience of how we function is critically important. Because when you understand our habits and our thought patterns, and you're listening, right? You're paying attention to people, and you're establishing a framework by which to communicate with them, then you're not just doing the social mirroring, you're understanding why they're doing the things they're doing. You're checking for some basic ideas and concepts that you can hang on and know that you're right. Because if you're wrong, you ruin a relationship.
True.
If I got you all figured out, Brother Davis, I know exactly everything. I got you. I know what generation you're in. I know what colors you wear. I got you. You fit right in the box I'm gonna put you in, right? And then when you don't fit in that box anymore, it's frustrating for both me and you.
Yeah.
And that's because I didn't do the work of checking. I didn't do the work of saying, I hear you say blah blah blah, whatever you say. Do you mean this, that, and the other? Is that, did I get that correct? And be willing to be corrected. That's that ego part you were talking about, right?
Mhm.
Critically important. I see my boy Rogers back in the room. I want to give him a minute to introduce himself really quickly, and then we're gonna get back into the party. Hey Roger, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick?
Excellent. Thank you, Coach. Yeah, my name is Roger Owens, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. And I'm very excited to be invited to this esteemed panel of gentlemen and being able to contribute a little nuggets that I may have in my pocket and just learn and just really just be just have a great conversation. So, real quickly, my background is in sales, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I love connecting with people, love offering solutions, really, identifying a need and really being a consultant approach and building really great relationships at the same time. And really excited to have this platform available to just talk to some really great brothers and yeah, and just enjoy the time together.
Okay, Roger, that is fantastic. We were just talking about why follow up and follow through is important. We haven't really discussed, the difference between the two just yet. But we were talking earlier about, some of the things, that lessons that they've learned about, follow up, and what's going wrong and what's going well. Is there anything that you could think of, the times when, you kind of should have followed up, but you flubbed it. You did it the wrong way, and it didn't work out the way you imagined that it wouldn't work out. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely in my career, it's all through a learning process. It's all a journey, and yeah, knowing a little about sales that I thought I read through some books. One of the biggest parts was the follow up, and really making your yes be yes and your no be no. And there's been times where I said I was going to do something and follow up and provide, and I had customers call me out big time on it and say, hey, I was expecting you to do this, and I was, and you think it's not going to be a big deal, but from your perspective, you're thinking it's not a big deal, but from the customer's perspective, it's, they're expecting it and they're waiting. And so I've lost some orders or accounts or things just for that simple reason. And it's through that, mistakes that you learn the best. And I try and not repeat it. So, yeah, I have a good way to compartmentalize those scenarios. So thank you for bringing up those
Trauma.
mistakes that because you gotta have a short term. You gotta forget it quickly and or retain it, but then not allow it to be an anchor, right? So
So I hear you, Roger, and I hear what you're saying, and I hear what you're not saying, and I totally understand, how traumatic it can be when you think something is going one way, and then somebody pulls the rug out from under you, and it's like, oops, I
yes.
stuck my foot in it, and I didn't mean to stick my foot in it, but
hmm
here I am. And so the real issue is now, can you recover or should you recover? How do you go about making that decision? And I'm going to let our guest panelists kind of weigh in on that. When you have, pardon my French, screwed the pooch and not followed up or followed through in the way that it was expected to with the people that you really, really want to impress, how do you recover? What's the recovery plan? What's the fallback position?
Don't make excuses. Do not make excuses. Own it. Apologize if you need to make that apology, and just make it right. I'm a builder, but I'm a fixer. I ran operations crews for years, window cleaning crews, believe it or not. And believe me, when those window cleaners was coming through that building, they was lock up the booze and hide the women. They thought they were gonna steal the purses and the cameras and the pens and the pencils and the beanie babies or whatever they had on their desk. And I would get calls like you would not believe, and I literally carried hundreds of dollars in my pocket. And no matter whether we were right or wrong, most of the time we did not commit the crime, but I, took out the money. I apologize. I don't know whether or not they did it or not, but I just want to make that thing right so we can move on. Make it right and move on. You'll find that some people will appreciate that and continue to work with you. You'll find that some people will appreciate that and not continue to work with you. But whatever you do, you make it right for yourself. Just make that situation right. Don't make apologies. Don't make excuses. Just own it and keep moving.
This is reminding me of a study I'm embarking on right now, creating some new energy, some new training around energy. How you create it, how you manufacture it, what do you do with it when you have it. And right now, the study suggests that there are places where we all have three things: agency, authenticity, and authority. And in places where we do have agency, authenticity, and authority, we need to completely and thoroughly step into that so that when we do apologize, it's for real, right? It's not just because, the customer's always right. When we do own up to and try to take responsibilities because we have the authority to do so, and we're not kind of short shrifting it and saying, okay, well, it's not my job. I don't have the ability to do this. Or when we have agency, we're taking the other person's ideas and concepts to heart. We're trying to serve. And that has to come through in our communication, not necessarily in that many words, but how we respond and how we react has to be through the willingness and the heart to serve.
Mhm.
So I get completely what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when we have those three things, when we can be able to learn how to manufacture, how to own them, how to develop them, how to deliver them, and then how to share them, man, life is magical because everybody gets to be happy.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to win. And I'm a big believer that everybody can win. It doesn't have to be winners and losers.
No.
Everybody can win.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about recovery, Brother Davis?
Yeah, I agree with Kevin Williams and just not making an excuse. And depending on the circumstance, I think it's helpful to obviously acknowledge it as early as possible, as quick as possible. I'm not big on excuses either. No one cares about them, unless it's something that they can control moving forward, as a barrier. But owning it, and then when the circumstance is right, mention what the corrective action is moving forward. So, if it's something that my team was supposed to deliver, that I'll make sure that my team is more updated on whatever. What that corrective action is, or next time I'll let you know sooner if I encounter any problems with that, just so they know that what the problem is, you've apologized for it, and there is a plan moving forward. But I think the best way to handle it, or the thing that people care about the most, is what's your next move? How do you behave moving forward? Is this a habit? So the second time something happens, did you follow through? What's success? They want to see that new behavior more than anything. If they give you a second chance, if they don't, it is what it is. But that new behavior is what people want to see more than anything you can type, write, or say.
So that makes me think of a concept that I heard back in the days when Mr. Reagan was the president: trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
Is that real trust? If you're holding back on something, is it real trust? And I'm gonna give you guys some pushback on some things, because I know that the corporate responsibility, or shall I say, the service role, is to own it even if it isn't your fault, right? Everybody, all the customer service strategies, and then they teach you, don't argue with the customer, don't push back, don't do. But that also supposes that you don't have feelings, and that you don't have thoughts, and you're not a human in this scenario. You don't get to feel the pain of their rejection, or you don't get to experience the fallout. And
that depends, Mark. That depends, Coach. That depends on your delivery. That depends on your delivery. I mean, you could be a brash, here, women, take this $100 and go and be about your business. We did it or we didn't do it, but here's this money.
Right.
That's
Right.
one approach. That's not a very good approach. But it's how you respond to that situation that shows that there is some real concern. I understand your point, that the customer is always right and just, take care of it. But I think people who really are paying attention to how your message is being delivered, who really want to understand, they really do. They understand, and the people know the difference.
I got a note that I want to share with you guys from my friend Nancy. You're gonna love it, and this is why I love her. Take a minute and check that out. There are people in this world who, no matter what you bring to the table, are going to look at it sideways, reject it at its face, not give you the benefit of the doubt when they have no reason not to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
And they're going to expect that you show up in the box they have for you, right? Whatever that box is.
Mhm.
And that's unfortunate, but that is a fact that we all have to deal with. That is a situation that we find ourselves in, sometimes more than we want to. And it's awful challenging. I have to admit, for myself, it's awful challenging. I know it's awful challenging for people that I've worked with in the past. What do you guys do that, in spite of whatever, you just can't seem to get out of the stereotype, and you can't seem to shake loose, the prefrontal, preordained destiny that somebody seems to have you trapped in, but you also need their support? Tough question, isn't it?
Yeah, you gotta do some. You gotta weigh some things out. And I think I'm appreciative of the progress we've made in the workplace, and particularly, like in this group, Black men or Black people, we understand our value a little bit more, and we're able to speak up and advocate for ourselves a little bit more. And more importantly, we know how to pull ourselves out of these situations, or at least we figure out an exit strategy. Whereas, I'm young enough and old enough at the same time to recall being told to, when you started the workforce, you go in, keep your head down, don't make any waves, and you keep it moving. And that doesn't get you anywhere. That's not the advice, the great advice people thought it was. And we see the studies and the long-lasting effects of how that doesn't advance the workplace, the mental toll that it takes on you. But we've advanced enough now to know that if you're the hurdle and you have and your issue with me is around bias or prejudice or racism, that's something that I can't fix in you. There's some times where you can work with people and not really rock with them. I can't say what I wanted to say. And you can navigate around, but if you're in a position where this person is a true hurdle to your success, or a project or a contract or something like that, and you know firsthand that this is something that's an issue, my advice is you might have to find another way around, and sometimes that way around is out. But I don't want anyone to mistake that as everything you encounter you need to run. I'm big on, you got to figure out how to navigate this, do all that you can, just like a relationship. Do all that you can, be as reasonable as you can, allow a little bit of room for grace. And if that doesn't work, then you have to make a decision, because no one should be, subjected to. That's a hostile work environment at that point. And there's no reason to. If you got an advocate or ally in a company, you got to figure out who you can really trust. Can you talk to someone about this? If you don't, you have to look at what your exit strategy is. Like, try all your different paths. to figure it out. You know, I definitely don't advocate people to run anytime there's a wrinkle, because, you know, something the guy told me a couple years ago at a networking event on why he was ready to quit his job, and somebody told him to stay, and it was, what are you running from? Are you running to a great opportunity? Are you running from something? Because if you're running to a great opportunity, by all means go. But if you're running from something, you're probably going to encounter that somewhere else. And if you don't figure out, or at least form a strategy or try to address that here, what are you going to do next time? You can't keep running from it. Sometimes you got to confront it, and that still may mean leaving. But I don't know. I don't have any other strategies, but do what you can, and you can only do so much, and you got to go.
That's the wisdom right there.
Good point. Good point, Kevin. And to Nancy's point, that was an absolutely fantastic point that Nancy made earlier. I learned, to Kevin's point, that, you know, I may not have to be the one to deal with those types of situations, Nancy, when they come about, you know, in that particular thing. I was smart enough then to align my staff with the individuals who were making these types of complaints. And I could balance out how we responded, with who I sent to respond, so that I had like situations with like situations, so that I didn't have to go in and diffuse a racial thing with another individual of color. You know, I would send someone that looked like her to handle the situation. And it just sometimes would diffuse. So you just have to know how to ebb and flow through these things. But to Kevin's point, you can't run from these things. Sometimes you just have to stand your ground. You need to create the kind of strategy that you need to create so that you can learn from that situation. Because, as you said, if you don't learn to deal and have some type of coping or mechanism in place, you're going to encounter that same thing someplace else if you decide to make a move. So, great point, Kevin.
Yeah,
I'm going to pose a scenario to you guys, and I want you to answer what you think that I might have done. Just yesterday, I was on the phone with an individual who called me. A sister. I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm not going to disclose any other information about it. But she called me to ask me for my expertise and to leverage my contacts to create something that's going to be great for her and her organization. And so I mistakenly thought that I could ask some questions about the intent of this particular project, because you're asking me for my expertise and to leverage my relationships. And she took my questions as an interrogation, and she took it as if somehow I was disrespecting her personally. And I was asking questions that I believe that anyone would ask to determine, you know, to what level of commitment they were going to make to this effort, or to what level of communication they may have to share with someone else that needed to have this information in order to run with it or support this effort. And she basically said, you know, I don't think I can work with you. Now, I thought about throwing my hands up and going, all right, fine. It does make some sense. This is actually too hard for me to give you the benefit of my expertise and give you the benefit of my network. This is really too hard. I don't want to work this hard. But then I thought, this is another professional who is not going to learn any valuable lesson from me walking away and not confronting this issue head on. So I'm interested to know what you guys might have done, and then I'll tell you what I did.
I think there's two things that happened there. One is she realized that you all weren't as much a peers as she thought in the relationship. And sometimes that happens. You know, I know some people, but I know that I don't know them. And so if I make an ask and they kind of grill me a little bit, I'm not offended by it, because they want to know, before I put my resources and connections on the line, I just want to be able to make sure A, is the right fit, B, that you're the right person for it, and C, I'm not going to get screwed in this because of this, because I don't know you like that. Or even if I do know you like that, I don't know your concept or whatever it is you're working on enough. So I got to ask you those things. And so I think it was her realizing or not that y'all just weren't the peers that she thought, or that you have such a high regard for your network. And I think sometimes we don't put those boundaries or gates up around our people. I am cool with connecting anybody with folks in my circle if it makes sense. But I have to man the door first. And then I'll tell them, I don't think that Roger's the best person for you. I have someone else. Roger focuses on enterprise sales solutions over here. What you need is something for a more smaller market. It's not the best use of either your time. You don't have a budget, and he doesn't have a product for you. So you got to do that gatekeeping a little bit, because I appreciate people do that for me and say, hey, Kevin, this one of my buddies, Roger, is interested. I don't think it's a good fit, but let me run it by you before I connect you. And then I'll say, I'm not the best person for this, or I have somebody else. So we have to do that kind of gatekeeping. It's our relationships, it's our reputations on the line, and we've worked too hard and built the trust of people for so long to have it come crumbling down because of a bad connection. All you wanted to know was just clarity.
Have to guard that.
Clarity.
Yeah, you have to guard that.
Absolutely. Any thoughts, Roger?
Yeah, like I said, you gentlemen are echoing everything that I have.
We gotta let Roger speak first.
Yeah. Maybe I'll chime in on the next question first, but yeah, you guys have said it right. It is. Like for us to even form a connection and relationship, as quickly as I feel we have already. And I'm sure you guys also have obviously way deeper relations with your network. You're not just gonna just open it up to everyone, and you got to vet them. Really make sure there's the matchmaking, like you said. But I find interesting that she felt entitled to access your network, and she felt no way, which that's a big blind spot. That's quite nerving, because once you open her up to your people, she's going to be a reflection of you. So they're going to be texting you, calling you, Facebook, textbook, WhatsApp, all the different platforms.
Look, all it takes is for that to happen one time. That's right. I've done that, and they're like, Kev, who the hell was that? And then you're like, let me.
You got to check yourself.
Yeah.
You slipping.
My favorite can go wrong so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just dropped down a couple notches. Yeah.
And I think, Coach, you're on to something, though, and I get it. We do have to mentor when we can, and hopefully people are receptive, but at least put it out there to say, here, I'm not trying to be difficult with you. It's just that I value your time just as my network, and I just want to understand a little bit. And so I'm asking you these questions, and it's not to grill you. I just want to make sure it's the best fit. And we have to do that. We have to teach sometimes, because, like you said, if you didn't do it,
no one else would.
Who would? And then now the reputation could be that Coach talks about all of this stuff on LinkedIn, but when I reached out, he didn't look out for me. So now it became a teachable moment. You never know. That's the relationship management piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have fallen into that trap, and the person that I made the referral to called me back and said, Kevin, don't you ever. And I already knew what was coming after that. So you have to guard those relationships. Those if they're like anything like me, their time is extremely valuable. I do not have the time for a lot of idle gibble babble. Yeah. If it's purposeful, if it is impactful, and I can connect you, like you, Kevin, I will make connections for the best of them. But man, you got to bring it, you know. And my business partner tells me all the time, let me help you understand something. Let me help you understand something. Know what you want, know what you need, and you know, to Kevin's point again, you know, if you can redirect them, because what it is that they're asking for and who it is they're asking to be connected with is not really the right person, then do yourself a favor. You know, offer him another route. And they may accept it and they may not, but you do not want to put yourself in a situation where you're, you know, dumping off someone else, you know, onto someone in your network, because it could easily backfire.
So, Coach, what did you do? All right, tell us, share.
So I'm so excited because I tried some new age woo woo stuff. And that's how I'm gonna pronounce it or say it. Because you know you read a ton of books about you know all these different generations and all these different you know philosophies and ideas you know, and I embrace it all. You know, just try to make sure that you know I am helping people in the right way. And so I basically I went silent for a minute because she was coming at me with you know this you don't you don't know who you are and what you're talking about and blah 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 blah, and I just went silent. And when there was a break and she said, well, I'm gonna go now. And I said, you know what, you know, you got my mouth wide open right about now. And she goes, what do you mean? She goes, I am shocked. And this I have to be authentic right now. I am shocked that you seem to somehow believe that I am your enemy and that I'm coming at you with an interrogation type of style when I'm actually only asking questions that I know people are going to ask me as a result of saying they should support this effort that you're into. And so I'm doing that not necessarily to even play devil's advocate because I know these people. And if you want me to try to help you, you know, connect to them and make some sense of it all, they're going to be asking me these questions, and I don't know the answers to these questions. So I need you to help me. This, in order to help you, I need you to help me get some kind of understanding of to as to what the purpose of this is, what it's all about, who is it going to benefit, and more importantly, how is it going to benefit the people that you want me to connect to this? If I don't know that information, I'm just going in blind and doing things willy-nilly. I don't do that.
Yeah.
So if you think that that's where we are, and you know I don't understand where you're coming from, or I'm not willing to understand where you're coming from, I'll understand if you don't want to continue. But I promise you, I have nothing but love for you, and I want you to know I'm trying to help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
I'm never trying to do anything other than that. So
You
if
know,
I've made the mistake of making maybe asking you a question that triggered something in your past or something in you that makes you feel some kind of way, I apologize. That is not my intent. My intent is to try to figure out the best way to help you move forward. Do you accept my apology? She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm just quick to judge, you know, and people have let me down so many times. I just don't know how to act sometimes, and it's my fault. And then she just went into this whole apology, and then we got things back on track, and we moved forward.
mm-hmm.
But trust that was difficult for me
Yeah.
because I wanted to do exactly what Nancy says. I wanted to say bye bye,
Yeah.
bye bye. That's what I wanted to say. But then I realized again, like I said earlier, here's another professional that might learn something from this moment. Because if we all get into these positions where people have the chance to elevate our thinking, but they don't want to take the time to do it because their ego gets all swallowed up in it. And I had to put my ego to the side. And trust me, this is not even a paid gig. If it was a paid gig, I would know exactly how to respond. But this was a volunteer effort, and I'm just trying to serve the community. And I'm thinking, man, the community shouldn't suffer because us two can't figure out how to get off the dime and get off our own ego trips and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'll take the hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I actually took a hit. But I'm saying, that's how people would perceive it. As I'm sure you listen to it and go, "Hey, Mark, you're kind of soft." At least I know I felt I was being kind of soft. But I thought more importantly outside of myself, what's most important for the effort?
Exactly, and you were thinking bigger picture. You were thinking, you're showing wisdom and maturity because, yeah, it's hard sometimes. It's hard on the flesh.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is the part of the conversation that is often left out. Everybody's talking about shoot your shot, right?
Right.
Go ahead, email that person. What can they say? All they can say is no, and it's like, yeah. But the part of the conversation is missing is this relationship management piece and understanding that yes, you have to go through some gatekeepers. Sometimes it is not personal, and maybe it's just not a good fit. Like that part is not told. It's always go network, go meet people, go inbox, and it's not. Don't take it personal. It might not be the right season. It might not be the right time in the year, like literal season. The budget might be. It just may not be a good time for it, and to not take that personal. Unless you feel like it is personal from somebody. But again, sometimes that's just you got to get over yourself with it. But just like we talked about earlier with the communication styles, we have to sometimes stop and recognize and see where people are, like on that journey, and taking that moment to explain. Here's why I'm asking these questions. So it's almost like anticipating the need, and I think that's a note that I put down earlier coming into this conversation, is thinking about how you felt in different situations in your career. So when you are in that position, whether that's to make a referral, whether that's make a leadership decision or whatever, always think about how you felt on the other side of that. And so to your point, explaining to her what that process looked like was you kind of thinking, let me think about how this may look to her. And it takes me 2 minutes to send this email or do this phone call on why. But again, it's learning the communication styles and giving people grace because it may not be exactly where, we're all on the same page in this journey. We all have different experiences. And if you didn't do it, who would?
So my girl Nancy had another thought that I wanted to share with you guys, and I think she's absolutely correct. So I want her to know that I hear that as well. You can't full on trust everybody. And there are levels of trust that you have to get, and I do believe that you have to trust. You have to have some initial level of trust in order, or your relationship is dead. You're not going to move it forward. But that trust needs to grow over time or over experience.
Yeah.
Like there's a level of trust that we four have, each of us, right? And it's different for each of us, but there's a level for each of us with each other. Right now, it is our opportunity from here forward to determine if we want that trust to grow and what we might do to create even more trust.
But that trust is built on our trust for you.
Certainly, it's a leverage.
We have a level of respect and trust for you that when you put this group together, we didn't have any barriers in our initial meeting and understanding. Like you have that keystone person to say if like I know myself, and so if Coach brought these other guys together, we must all be on the same level, and so your reputation is on the line with all three of us.
Absolutely.
I don't think people look at it like that. Like the level or quality of the trust is often, it also hinges on that person who makes that connection. Who brings the people together. It can be great. There's some people that pull me in something and I'm like, I know how you get down. I don't have time. It's not a good fit. Because I'm picky with where I associate my name, my brand, my likeness, or whatever. And folks can, some people may feel like that's pretentious, but my brand is all I have. That's the one thing I can control in this world. And I have to be mindful of where I, to what and whom I attach it.
Certainly. And I have to say, that is, you're so absolutely correct. And I got to co-sign all over that because you already know you're right, but I want to make sure you know that I know absolutely right, because it is so important for people to understand that you matter, and your brand matters. And sometimes people look at you as an an opportunity or a transaction,
Mm-hmm.
and no person is a transaction. Every person is a person. And there's a belief I have, and this is just me from my faith tradition and how I've exercised it over time that I've been on this planet. I believe that everyone that God brings in front of me is an opportunity for me to hear something that God wants me to hear,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's good or bad. But my job, my responsibility is to pay attention and listen. And the older I get, the better I get at doing exactly that. The results of that become people feel understood around me. Sometimes for the first time in their lives, because they've never been understood before by a person who looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shock for them. you know. And then not only do I have to understand them, I have to get them over the shock that, oh, yes, a person who's 6'5", African American from the South can understand your thoughts and feelings and understand how you process information and listen to you and actually maybe even have something additive that might help grow you into the you that you're supposed to be. Which brings me to my second belief. Each of us is supposed to do something here on this planet with the gifts and the talents that we have. And to the extent that we can help each other facilitate the growth and the manifestation of those gifts, good on us. If you can figure out how to help somebody else be better at who they are, good for you. Because this is what I believe that we're all here to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Other than that, we're wasting space. That's and again, that's from my belief system, my faith tradition, whether I put together from spitting bubble gum, pieces of the Bible, piece of the Quran, a piece of Yoruba tradition, and some things I learned from my fraternity. By the way, one of the reasons why we're sitting here today is because my fraternity is all about business. One of their key ideas and key notions is business, 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 bigger and better business. They were one of the first to come up with those notions within the African American community. And so I joined it because of that. And I manifest that all the time because, every board I sit on is about, can we help small businesses?
Yeah.
Every effort, every initiative that I pull is what can it do for small business? Who does it serve in the small business community? If not, I'm not about that because that's not who I am. I'm not about that life. And so I say all this to say, follow up and follow through is the key to making a relationship work. Any professional relationship, whether you're looking for mentorship, or you're looking for a board of advisors, or you're looking for consultants, or you're looking for therapists or coaches. These are the 5 pillars of professional health, right? If you don't learn how to create those relationships well, then whatever gifts you have no place to flourish. You won't be able to get the support and the help you need to make your gifts come alive and then be a part of the universe. We got some people out there that I want to make sure I give a shout out to. I see Harris Ford out there. I already talked about my girl Nancy. Eric McKinley's out there. Nina Moncure is out there. And they are coming to us live, I think from Dubai. So it's just, we got people from all over the world watching the show, which is great. I'm so appreciative of you guys and so appreciative of everybody. If you have a chance to like the show, to share the show, if any of you guest speakers want to come back in the future, definitely let me know. I'm all about that. I don't want to, have it be a once and done kind of thing. I'm not I'm not about the transaction. I'm about the relationship. So we got to keep this party going somehow, some way. Next week, we're going to be talking about the next step in the 9-step process. And let me see if I can't share that with you guys really quickly. We're going to be talking about what it takes to get connected. Now, once we've listened, we've made the promises, we've followed up and followed through. How do we really, really now lock in that connection that we have and keep the party going? Because if you don't do that, then the relationship gets stalled and it becomes, like Janet Jackson would say, "What have you done for me lately?" There's nothing in the hopper right now. And relationships are either ongoing or they're static. And you want to be in ongoing professional relationships, because if not, then what you'll find is people won't be there with you when you need them to be with you. And when you need them and you go to try to reach out to them, they go, "Oh, where you been?" Right? Oh, all of a sudden you call me when you need me. The thing about nurturing professional relationships is you need to stay in front of them when you don't need them, so that when you do need them, they'll be there for you. And you'll have that sense of safety and your ability to take risks that you might not necessarily take when you have that network that for a fact you can fall back on if you know what hits the fan. And that's critically important for all professionals. This is why we do what I do what I do, because I understand that nobody does anything by themselves, really. Nobody does anything great by themselves. It's not possible. It's an American dream that becomes a personal nightmare for many of us, trying to figure out how we're going to do it our way. It's not. We're not in this thing by ourselves. We're all in this thing together. Whatever's going on, and the more you can collaborate, the more you can coordinate with others, the better off you will be. The stronger you'll be, the more resilient you'll be, the faster you'll grow. And that's it. Does anybody have any last thoughts before we sign off? What do you think?
Yeah, I like to say that collaborating, like in our culture, I may be opening up a can of worms, but in our culture, this is very rare. Like this is difficult to collaborate. So, kudos and I applaud you, Coach, for trying to bring us together. Keep because as you know, there's power in unity, and in other cultures, it seems to just happen. It's very much encouraged, and you can see it economically or evident in especially up in Canada. I know in the States as well. So in unity, it's simple. That's just the word, is this unity. And with unity, great things can be offshoot and branched out, and roads are opened up that you never would have thought of. So no, this is great. I enjoyed it. I love to do this again, where I could spend a full time with you and your guest, or even yourselves, Kevin Williams and Davis, another time.
Awesome. Any other thoughts?
I just want to say that relationships are critical, not just business relationships, but relationships everywhere. I mean, people are people, and relationships drive most things. People, again, from a business perspective, do business with people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And if you are level-headed and you're the same way at work that you are at home, that you are in church, and that you are in the community, you'll find that your relationships will carry you a whole lot farther, because you'll have access to opportunities in places where you don't necessarily you're not necessarily going there for what you thought you went there for, but opportunities will come out of just being good, just being true, just being trustworthy, just being authentic. Relationships are what makes the world go around, and we have choices with relationships. We can choose to engage, we can choose to be truthful, we can choose to be authentic. And believe me, people are people. They read you, and they pretty much will respond off of the way that you carry yourself. So make the best of these relationships, and make the best of these types of opportunities where you can get access to information that is going to help you to improve whatever it is that you're trying to do by just, getting engaged and participating in the process that's going to help you get the best information from people who have walked a mile in these relationship shoes.
Mhm.
Hey, any final thoughts, Kevin, Mr. Davis?
Yep. +1 to everything that Roger and Kevin W said. I hope that those who are taking a listen and or watch, at this panel here, take away that relationships, they're essential. And it makes life so much easier when you look at your relationships as a part of your strategy. And I know that may feel like businessy to people, but life's a strategy. And to get where you're trying to go, to meet where you're trying to meet, achieve whatever you're trying to achieve, is going to take relationships. And when you align those two together, it's just a much more fluid process. But it definitely takes a strategy. Being mindful of who to contact, when to contact them, when you want to follow up with them. And over time, it just becomes organic. It seems like extra work now, but over time it becomes organic. You'll be on LinkedIn. You see somebody got a job, instead of hitting like, hit that inbox. Hey, I see you got a new job. Congrats. Most people aren't going to do that. Finding a different way to reach out to folks and be memorable is key. But more important than all of that, being reliable is what people remember. So you can be charismatic, you can be personable, and it's something that I learned early in my career. I can make anyone around me like me at work. And early in my career, that's where I spent my time being likable. But I didn't spend the time on being the person that was reliable and getting the things done. So after a while, that runs dry. And people are like, that's cool and you're cool, but I need you to deliver at the same time. So being able to execute is just as, or if not more important than being relatable and being personable. So it's not extra work. It's not extra work when you have a plan.
Oh my God, Kevin, you just reminded me of something. Last words, and I promise I'm going to close it out with these last words. Dr. Stephen Covey taught me many years ago. He's the author of the 7 Habits for Highly Effective Principles. He taught me many years ago that trust was built on 2 key ideas. The first idea is competence. You must be competent so you can deliver, like you said, right? But the other part of it is character. You also have to have a great character. And character is not as fluid as we want to believe that it is, because the key ideas of character are based on the principles that we all agree with. Don't lie, cheat, and steal. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't take other people's ideas or concepts or anything as your own without giving them, due credit.
Yeah.
But these are things that we will all agree. Every race, creed, it doesn't matter. We will all agree on these basic core principles of life, no matter what we're dealing with. That's what makes up a good character. We know what it is. We have enough human experience to know what it is. And then there's competence. In your area, whatever area of expertise you have competence in, you have to also demonstrate that.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that, people are going to trust you. And it's not just, everybody doesn't have to give you the same level of trust, but the level of trust that is required to get done what has to get done to move things forward. You have to ask yourself, do I have the character? Do I have the competence? And how am I delivering on both of those ideas? So that I know for myself first, trust is myself, right? I trust myself as integrity. And then I can manifest that outwardly and become trustworthy by other people. But the first person that knows you don't have integrity, that's you. You know when you're faking it. You know when you're dialing it in. And you're human. Sometimes you're going to do that. Let's just accept it. We're going to be fallible in those ways sometimes. And all 3 of you have demonstrated, moments in your life where you didn't necessarily do the right thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
But again, you have to come back, step back, relearn, recover, and get at it again. Because if you don't, this turns into depression. It turns into isolation and ultimately death. So on that wonderful, happy high note, if anybody has any questions, listen, the chat boxes will be open well after the recording. And so you can always go in and chat with me, chat with, anybody, any of our guest panelists. They may answer, they may not, but I'll definitely answer if you have a question. So, because I want to make it favorable to anybody. And if anyone has a thought about what you might want to see as a future show, hit me up in the chat box. Whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, I may consider it. I may not. And I'll let you know right off the bat. I do have an agenda, some things coming forward, but if I can squeeze some ideas in from where you're coming from, I definitely will. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that every small business out there gets something that they need to move themselves forward. I thank you all of the guests, especially my panelists. Oh my God, I see like I said every week. This has been the best panel, and I'm never lying. This has been the best panel. I kind of knew it was going to be because as I built this project, like these brothers, all of them are amazing, and I'm so glad that you spent the time and are taking the time to give and share your gifts with the world in this way. This recording is going to be for all of you to share with whoever you want to share it with. In the future, you can cut it up, slice it, whatever you want to do. Take your piece out. That's why I kind of highlighted you in certain areas so that if you want to just take the point out that you would make, there you go. You got it. All right, this is Coach Paul. Had a great time. Anybody who has any other thoughts, feel free to hit me up. This was a great day, and I'm going to say bye-bye to all of our guests. But our guest panelists, if you want to come back and stay backstage and hang out for a minute and share your thoughts, I would appreciate it. If you don't have time, I also understand.
Yes, I
So
do.
with God, everybody, this is the end of the party. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thank you.
Bye, guys.